Just how has that process been for you at this point of the season?
I think it's improving. I feel more comfortable on the court, game by game. It's also
The soft glow of the computer screen illuminated Nizzi Clark's tired face as she sat at her kitchen table at 2:47 a.m., her calloused fingers typing the final lines of a medical transcription report for her third job of the day, while the rest of the house lay wrapped in the warmth of peaceful sleep upstairs, completely unaware that the very heartbeat of their home had been carrying an unspoken burden for years, pushing her body to the edge of exhaustion and beyond so that her daughter, Caitlin, could chase a dream that few children ever get the chance to truly pursue. It seemed almost impossible that love could drive someone to sacrifice so completely, to give away their own comfort, their own rest, their own well-being, and yet turn exhaustion into fuel, sleepless nights into investments, and pain into purpose. But that was the essence of, and her life had quietly become a living testimony to the way love, when it is pure and unconditional, does not measure its cost in hours or energy, but only in the hope that the person it is poured into will flourish. What you are about to discover is not just the story of a mother's hidden sacrifices, but the moment when Caitlin Clark, already beginning to carve her name into the fabric of basketball history, finally learned the truth about what her mother had been doing silently in the shadows all those years. And the way her reaction revealed the depth of character that made her not just a great athlete, but also an extraordinary human being. Someone whose greatness was not built merely on her own talent, but on the quiet, unseen foundation of love and sacrifice laid down for her every single day. What no one outside the walls of their home could have possibly known was that, and had been keeping a detailed journal of every sacrifice, every late night, every moment when she thought she could not go on but still did. She did not write these words for recognition, pity, or applause, but as a love letter to her daughter, a testimony of the small and invisible battles she fought for Caitlin's future, one she planned to give her when the time was right, when Caitlin could truly understand that. Behind every scholarship, every headline, every three-point shot, there had been a mother who had bent time, bent her own body, bent her very spirit to make those moments possible. This story, however, found its turning point on a December evening in 2023, an evening that would alter Caitlin's perception of her own journey and force her to confront the full weight of what her mother had been carrying. And it all began in a way so ordinary it almost feels like fate had been waiting to reveal the truth, when both mother and daughter were ready to truly see each other. Years earlier, when Caitlin was only 14, her potential was beginning to shine with such intensity that even coaches and scouts outside their small circle could sense that she was destined for something remarkable on the court. She had an instinct for the game, a fire in her eyes, and a work ethic beyond her years. But talent at that level comes with costs, travel team fees, private coaching sessions, specialized training camps. And those costs piled up much faster than her father Brent's construction salary could stretch, no matter how many overtime hours he tried to put in. And working part-time as a medical assistant at the time, felt the pressure mounting, but also knew in her bones that this was not just another extracurricular, not just another child's passing interest. Caitlin's love for basketball was deeper, more rooted, something sacred, and then decided then and there that she would do whatever it took to make sure money never became the chain that held her daughter back. At first, that meant quietly picking up a second job, taking on medical transcription assignments from home late at night after her family was asleep, her tired eyes staring at a glowing screen long past midnight, her only companion a mug of coffee that had gone lukewarm hours before. When that still wasn't enough, she added a third job, cleaning offices on weekends when others were out enjoying family time, her hands growing rough from industrial cleaning supplies, her knees aching as she scrubbed floors and emptied trash cans in silence. The kitchen table, once simply a gathering place for family dinners, transformed into her command center, stacked with invoices from basketball camps, receipts for equipment, calendars of training sessions, and schedules so intricate they would have made a corporate executive dizzy. Her laptop was often open to 3 different work portals at once: medical transcription files waiting to be typed, patient scheduling for the clinic she still worked at part-time, and reports from the cleaning service that paid only enough to cover the next tournament or set of gear Caitlin needed. The coffee maker had become her most loyal ally, running almost constantly, fueling the woman who had turned sacrifice into an art form, who had quietly transformed her own body into an engine running on nothing but faith in her daughter's potential. And it was into this scene, one seemingly ordinary but in truth monumental, that Caitlin walked on that December night in 2023, unable to sleep before a big game, her mind restless with anticipation. She patted down the stairs for a glass of water and found her mother hunched over the computer, her shoulders shaking with exhaustion, the blue glow of the screen highlighting the deep lines of fatigue etched into her face. The sight hit Caitlin like a physical blow. She had known her mother worked hard, had sensed there was always more going on than she was told, but nothing prepared her for the reality of seeing her mother at nearly 3 a.m, surrounded by the evidence of multiple jobs she had been hiding, and in that instant the entire narrative of her own journey shifted. "Mom," Caitlin whispered, her voice small in the quiet kitchen, trembling with both confusion and dawning awareness. "What are you doing up so late?" And startled, quickly closing her laptop as if she could somehow shield her daughter from the truth. But it was too late. Caitlin had seen enough. The open tabs, the invoices, the weariness etched into her mother's very posture, and she understood in a single moment that something much bigger than she had ever imagined had been happening all along. For Caitlin, the revelation was almost unbearable because it stripped away the illusion that her journey had been powered solely by her own sweat and effort, and revealed the hidden scaffolding of her mother's endless sacrifices. And it was a moment of fear and vulnerability, because she had never wanted her daughter to feel guilt or pressure, only possibility, only freedom, and yet here the truth was unavoidable, undeniable, staring both of them in the face in the quiet of their kitchen. What followed that night was not just a conversation, but a transformation, one in which Caitlin began to truly grasp the depth of love that had been carrying her, and one in which, and finally allowed herself to be seen not as a tireless machine, but as a human being whose love had demanded more from her than anyone should ever have to give, and yet who gave it willingly, joyfully. Because that is what it means to be a mother who loves without
I think it's just nice that we see how good we are at team basketball and how good we are getting at passing the ball.
And Enrique had mentioned,
Their house at night was always quiet, the kind of silence that made it easy to believe everything was normal. But beneath that stillness, a hidden story had been unfolding for years, a story Caitlin Clark only began to piece together slowly, noticing her mother's constant fatigue, the way, and often fell asleep halfway through movies, the new calluses on her hands, the subtle winces when she thought no one was looking. And though Caitlin at first dismissed these as normal signs of stress, every mother endures, the truth revealed itself one December night when she found her mother awake at nearly 3 a.m, surrounded by 3 different work portals glowing on her laptop, papers scattered across the table, and the weight of exhaustion written in every line of her face. Sitting down at the table, Caitlin's voice cracked as she asked, "Mom, how long have you been doing this? How long have you been working all night?" A question Anne had dreaded for years because her entire mission had been to keep her sacrifices invisible, not out of shame, but because she wanted Caitlin to chase her dreams without guilt, free of the heavy awareness of what it was costing the family. And tried to deflect, insisting it wasn't a big deal. But Caitlin had inherited her mother's intelligence along with her athletic ability, and she could see through the attempt to minimize the truth, pointing out the 3 open job tabs on the screen, the cleaning supplies stored in the garage, and her mother's unrelenting exhaustion. In that moment, a profound shift happened, the kind that occurs in families when children suddenly recognize their parents not as invincible providers, but as fragile, determined human beings carrying invisible burdens out of love. With tears in her eyes, Anne finally opened her laptop fully and showed Caitlin the spreadsheet she had been keeping, a meticulous record of every expense for basketball camps, equipment, and travel, every hour worked at her jobs, every sacrifice made to ensure that money never became an obstacle. Her voice dropped to a whisper as she confessed she had been working 3 jobs for 3 years, her regular position at the clinic, medical transcription at night, and cleaning offices on weekends. Caitlin stared at the spreadsheet, seeing thousands of dollars and hundreds of hours that she had never once thought about. The sheer scope of her mother's sacrifice leaving her breathless. And yet what struck her most was not the numbers, but the evidence of love written between them, because this was not just financial support. It was a mother turning her own exhaustion into fuel for her child's dreams. What Caitlin didn't know until that night was that alongside the spreadsheets, and had also been keeping a private journal, not filled with complaints about sleeplessness or aching muscles, but with moments of pride and joy, documenting every success Caitlin had achieved, every reminder that the sacrifices were worth it. With tears streaming down her face, Caitlin asked why her mother had kept this hidden, why she hadn't let her help, insisting she could have gotten a job, and cut her off gently, reminding her that her only responsibility was to be a kid, to focus on school and basketball, and that her role as a mother was to make sure her daughter could pursue her passion without carrying the weight of financial worry. She ended softly but firmly. I wouldn't change a single thing about it. Instead of feeling guilty, Caitlin felt something deeper, a clarity about what love truly looks like when it is translated into action. And in that moment, she made a silent vow to never take any of it for granted, promising aloud to her mother that she would honor every sacrifice by working harder than ever, not just in basketball but in life, carrying the lessons of selflessness and perseverance into everything she did. She asked and to show her everything, every job, every record, every detail, not because she wanted to wallow in guilt, but because she wanted to understand the full scope of sacrifice, to learn from it, and to one day love her own children with the same selfless devotion. And so the two of them sat at the table until dawn, and sharing stories of nights when she thought she couldn't go on but found strength by thinking of Caitlin's goals. Moments of doubt followed by moments of confirmation. Whenever she saw her daughter succeed, and Caitlin listening intently, her admiration deepening with every word. That conversation transformed their relationship, not by adding guilt, but by creating a stronger bond built on understanding. And Caitlin began to realize that chasing greatness was not about her alone. It was about honoring the people who had sacrificed to make it possible. 6 months later, when Caitlin's dream culminated in being drafted into the WNBA, surrounded by family, friends, and cameras, she stood up to speak and stunned everyone into